Ladies and gentlemen, when Elon Musk purchased about 9% or so of Twitter, I said the man's going to buy the company. Then some people said, oh, you're just engaging in hyperbole. You just want subs. Well, we're approaching 200,000 subs. Hit subscribe right now and share this segment with everyone. I was right. He's going to buy the company. Well, we see that now. And when I said, hey, that 9% is him on his way to purchasing the entire dystopian nightmare of a platform and making it more open to speech, to debate, discussion, discourse, dialogue. Something that Democrats and morally superior, wonderful, highly educated liberal Democrats despise. They have utter contempt for dialogue, speech, debate, discourse, discussion, argumentation that it doesn't revolve around emotion. But here, New York Times, Twitter board is set to seriously consider Elon Musk's bid. I was right. I told everyone the man's buying this company. About 3 weeks ago, I said this. And there were some people saying, no, he's not. It was just he's on the board of directors. No, he's going to buy that company, because that company is going to be used against him. This is self-preservation. Wall Street Journal. Twitter re-examines Elon Musk's bid. Maybe more receptive to a deal. They've already accepted the fact. So they've accepted his bid, essentially. Now it's just a matter of negotiating a deal. Now they can't negotiate too hard with Elon Musk because the stock, investment banks have already stated the stock is worth a lot less than what Elon Musk is offering. So if Elon Musk is offering more money than what this nightmare of a company is said to be worth, because the daily monetizable users, they've already lost lawsuits pertaining to how they project future earnings and, based on the number of daily monetizable users that are either growing or not growing as fast as they claim. So really nobody knows exactly how this company values each user. Like, nobody knows how much advertising or how many products or how many services are purchased by the average user on Twitter. There's really no way to value the company. And they've alienated, millions upon millions of people. I have a great deal of respect for the country of India and Narendra Modi and the government in India, who told Twitter, you will be kicked out of this country, essentially, if you side with a political party. And if you don't abide by the rules of the laws of India, you will then be liable for anything on that platform. And so immediately, Twitter then said, oh my God, we have to abide by the laws of the country that we're in. Now, in this country, Twitter is an echo chamber and a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. If it's a story about Hunter, a legitimate, real, genuine story regarding the people who say that, democracy must be upheld by silencing others, if it's a story about Hunter and emails and obvious schemes to make money utilizing his name and promising or giving the promise or the potential of access to the United States government, within those emails, how can you use your influence on behalf of the company? I mean, they're right there. We couldn't talk about that 2 years ago. That was the New York Post was suspended. BuzzFeed was not suspended for publishing a Steele dossier that was only full of lies. So you have a story published by BuzzFeed only full of lies pertaining to the Steele dossier that was allowed on Twitter, amplified on that dystopian nightmare of a platform. But you had a story so that was a fabricated story, but it was amplified. It was not against Twitter guidelines. And a real story was against Twitter guidelines. So you have to understand, what Democrats have done is they have found a way to silence and suppress discussion, speech, dialogue, discourse, debate, because the truth about them, like the truth within Hunter's, he wrote those emails. The truth is viewed as a plot by another country, according to Clapper and Brennan, all the intelligence operatives and chiefs who just happen to have worked for either never Trump Republicans or President Obama, Bill Clinton. So all of these people who don't like Trump say that anything that is discovered pertaining to corruption within the Democratic Party must be a plot from another country. So in 2016, another country interfered. How do we know? Because we learned about the DNC emails. Those emails showed that Bernie Sanders was cheated. Well, but the only reason we know is because another country wanted us to know. That's the real story. You have to understand the mindless, vapid, sophomoric, absurd propaganda spin. That's why Tulsi Gabbard is suing Keith Olbermann and I think Olbermann and Mittens Romney. Okay? By the way, okay, they've accused Tulsi Gabbard of committing one of the most egregious crimes that is a specific, like, you have to actually give classified documents to the Soviets or to an adversary. Like, actually, and accept money to be accused of what they're accusing Tulsi Gabbard of. And Tulsi Gabbard was simply telling the truth or her viewpoint as an American citizen, a veteran. Unlike Mitt Romney and others who simply parrot whatever media tells them to go ahead and convey to the public. People like Mitt Romney, Cheney, Kinzinger, they're petrified of media. They voted alongside Trump over 90% of the time, Kinzinger and Cheney. But then they get retweeted by wonderful, morally superior, but oftentimes apoplectic liberal Democrats. Twitter is a mouthpiece for one political party. That's why they're so petrified that Elon Musk is going to take it over. And in terms of, look, the Twitter board can't stop Elon Musk. He can either go straight to shareholders in terms of a tender and a hostile takeover and say, hey, we're going to offer you this money and it's far above what the company's worth. And if you don't accept it, oh, by the way, you're not doing what you need to do to uphold what the shareholders need in terms of making money. And then you have lawsuits, like people on the board of directors, individuals, all of them could get sued by Elon Musk and others, and the shareholders too. There could be class action lawsuits against the Twitter board of directors. Why? Because, I mean, if you could make millions of dollars, if you could make even hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars, with an Elon Musk purchase, but the Twitter board doesn't want him to purchase it because, they're all wonderful liberal Democrats, very highly educated people who want to suppress dialogue. You have to understand, the people who want to suppress dialogue think that is upholding democracy. The people who want to silence 73 million Americans who voted for Donald Trump want to ensure he doesn't run again. That is democracy to them. These people can't even run a fair primary. Bernie Sanders says he's running again. Well, he's going to get cheated again. How many times can the same thing happen before Bernie Sanders say, hey, wait a second, they're cheating me again? Wow. How can they keep cheating me over and over again? How many times is Elizabeth Warren going to say that Bernie Sanders said a woman couldn't win, or whatever he didn't say, which she says that he said? Okay? How many Iowa primaries are there going to be, or Iowa contests where miraculously, oh my God, the second place wins at the last moment? And Bernie doesn't win. Gee, what a bizarre. How many times is Bernie Sanders just going to barely lose? The reason that, we can go on forever. Look, the whole point is you have Democrats who utilize social media platforms, Wikipedia included, by the way, to silence, marginalize, disparage, and demean their political opponents. And they do so by, you can look at not only the Hunter Biden story, the whole Trump-Russia narrative, which, ironically, John Radcliffe and others, the director of national intelligence under President Trump, and the director, the interim director of national intelligence, Richard Grenell, they've all stated, Ron Johnson, Chuck Grassley, they've all stated that the Steele dossier, that Democrats and wonderful left-leaning journalists on Mother Jones and Washington Post and BuzzFeed, the Steele dossier itself might very well have been riddled with disinformation from another country. Okay? So information that could have harmed the country from Moscow could have been part of the Steele dossier utilized to deceive tens of millions of Americans into thinking that an incoming president was actually installed by Vladimir. And so, again, it's ironic because they're the ones who literally purchased information compiled with Russian sources that could have been then infused with absurd disinformation simply to cause chaos and havoc within this country. Again, they don't mind chaos and havoc and information that it isn't accurate. They only mind chaos and havoc and political strife if it doesn't suit them. Then it's a plot by another country. Social media, you have Democratic senators writing platforms and algorithms saying, look, you need to do more. You need to do more to censor. The reason is because the merits of their argument, and here's the issue. The left says that speech comes with responsibility. There are already laws protecting people from harmful speech. There were laws protecting people from harmful speech decades before Twitter was even in existence. But the way you protect people from harmful speech is to ensure that your argument, the merits of your argument, are more profound or more accurate or more logical and rational than the argument of your opposition. You want to, if you're going to win the hearts and minds of people, what you need is better arguments, better ideas, better policies, better ideology, better viewpoints. But if you don't have those, so if people say, well, Donald Trump is spreading lies, what you consider lies because your viewpoint, I mean, like, there are lies, there's truth, yes. And then there's viewpoints. And then there's an argument and debate and discussion and discourse. You cannot accuse Trump of being installed by the Kremlin and then have him cast doubt on whatever he wants to cast doubt on. You can't do that. So the left-leaning mentality is, well, if somebody tells people to go and go poop in a swimming pool, I mean, everyone's going to poop in a swimming pool. I wouldn't do that if somebody said to do that. Okay, anyone with critical thinking skills and who has logic and rational thought and a modicum of wisdom wouldn't do that. For example, also, like, we won't talk about it. They say, oh, this information. When they go after Joe Rogan, you have these 70s folk singers going after Joe Rogan. His information is causing people to lose their lives. Well, then, there's laws in the book. If anything anyone says causes somebody to lose their life, you can take them to court, or it's a criminal or civil violation of the law. But if you can't prove that, and you're just doing that to frighten people because your ideas don't resonate, if your ideas rely on banning and suspending any opposing idea and coercion, then you don't have good ideas. And if you're so worried about people believing, extreme viewpoints, then make your viewpoints logical, rational, good enough to defeat those ideas. Ideas are won and lost through discussion and debate and dialogue and discourse, not through banning and suspending people. Look, you learn this in the 80s when I was, in the 80s, who remembers Two Live Crew, banned in the USA? I mean, you learn these, Two Live Crew, one of the great rap groups of all time. Okay? Luke and Two Live Crew, one of the greatest rappers of all time, greatest musical artists. Who remembers banned in the USA? Okay, you learned at a young age in the late 80s, early 90s that you can't ban or, I mean, the same thing happened with rock and roll. The same thing happened with music. When you ban something, what you're saying is you cannot defeat it with your own argument or your own ideas. So what the problem is, left-leaning ideology is devoid of any compelling ideas. It's about groupthink, emotion, absurd leaps of logic, and historical distortion. That's why Yad Vashem told AOC to learn more about the subject matter or the time period in history that she tried to distort. I wrote a Jerusalem Post op-ed about AOC. Read that. That's below in the pinned comment. I believe it's still in the pinned comment. But you could read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist. Read my articles in The Federalist on hagoodman.com. You can type in H.A. Goodman Federalist on Google. But that's the problem. They don't want... Look, when you have your friends and family who have disowned you, and they're like, oh my God, you're voting for Trump? Oh my God. They can't fathom. They don't even have, these people have purged themselves from any opposing viewpoint because they're not capable of seeing another argument or of understanding the merits of another argument, which makes them unable to actually defeat your argument. It's part of who they are. They have an emotional and psychological attachment to the Democratic Party, to disliking Trump, disliking conservatives. Like, I don't care if my friend votes for mashed potato brains Biden or, Clinton. Hopefully it's Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump 2024. I hope, I pray. I'm actually serious about this. We need that. But, I don't really care if somebody that I care about votes Democrat. They can vote Democrat, Green Party. They can vote, if they even want to vote Mitt Romney or whatever. If they wanted to vote Adam Kinzinger or Liz Cheney, I'd be like, oh, could you just vote Democrat? You might as well just vote Democrat. But I wouldn't care. I wouldn't disown them. You have these wonderful, highly educated, wonderful liberals who are such good people who want to purge themselves. They want to purge themselves of any, impure people who would vote for Trump or DeSantis. Because what they've done is they've made politics, they've turned it into religious dogma, religious doctrine. Many of these people are atheists, which is fine. Christopher Hitchens is one of my great inspirations in life. But when you replace God or religion with MSNBC and people at your dinner party that you have to impress, that's a huge problem. That's worse than even religious doctrine, or because there's no redeeming qualities to selling your soul to CNN and MSNBC or the Washington Post and the New York Times. So, I mean, it's the same people who are like, oh, well, I believe in God. I mean, there's no proof. Well, these are the same people who believe that James Clapper is telling the truth about Hunter's emails. They'll just believe anything because they read, they think the Washington Post or the New York Times are objective. It's not, these aren't the publications of 10 or 15 or 20, 30 years ago. Even then, they had a little bias towards the left, tiny bit. Now it's just they're like an actual echo chamber of the left. Ideas defeat ideas. If you ban or censor ideas, then you're not going to actually stop anything. They just grow and become more popular. And so Democrats, since they don't have good ideas, must have everybody from Jimmy Kimmel to social media algorithms to all of Hollywood to loyalists within the government, or else their political party collapses. Now imagine if Jimmy Kimmel just focused on comedy, or late night just focused on comedy. Imagine if the Washington Post actually did investigations of Democrats. Imagine if social media algorithms let anyone of any political, ideology just say whatever they wanted. You wouldn't have, the Democratic Party would basically completely collapse. They cannot exist without... I saw it with my own eyes. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. Okay? I saw it with my own eyes. My articles, like the Huffington Post, Salon, The Hill, they were shared hundreds of thousands of times in 2016. Okay? Millions of times, really. And in 2015 and 2016. And my ideas resonated because people within the Democratic Party wanted Bernie Sanders. Okay, now we know that he's a tool of the Democratic Party, but people, they wanted Bernie Sanders. They would have easily voted. Bernie Sanders would have won 2016 if it were fair. If they didn't cheat in their primaries. They don't even have functioning primaries, okay? Even Donna Brazile wrote about this in Politico. I mean, it's not something like, and then Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign. All right. But it's like, you have the same people who are like, oh my God, this information is harmful. It's like the people who would believe that information you don't care about anyway. They're not worried about protecting people. They're worried about controlling. Okay, the people who watch Joe Rogan, I love Joe Rogan. And I love the people he has on there. But the people who watch Joe Rogan aren't regretting their decisions in life. Oh, God, had I only listened to CNN, oh, my life would have been better. No one has ever said that. No viewer of Joe Rogan has ever said that. But the way Democrats think, or like Hollywood, or like the music industry, like, oh, this information is harmful. The people who would be susceptible to such information, believe me, they're not regretting anything. And also, it's not harmful. It's harmful only politically. Because then suddenly, there's freedom of choice in terms of ideas, in terms of how to live your life, and Democrats do not want that. That's why they're so focused on semantics and words. If they can't redefine the meaning of words, well then there you go. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. That's why they utilize euphemisms. George Orwell called euphemisms verbal refuse. Democrats live through interference, all these euphemisms, okay? It only serves to bolster their ideology that can't even survive without massive censorship and control of everything from late night, influence of even late night. You have to ask yourself, why is Jimmy Kimmel focused? And why is like Seth Meyers, why do they have all of these late night talk show hosts focused on politics? Because they can't possibly survive. The political party on the left cannot survive without every single possible advantage. And think of it conversely, Donald Trump, 73 million Americans, and that's with all of media, all of Hollywood, every social media algorithm against him. And he still basically has half the electorate. So imagine. And Elon Musk knows that platform is going to be used against him because he thinks outside the box. So his thing is, let any idea flourish. And if ideas are harmful that flourish, then your rebuttal to those ideas should be profound and good enough and powerful enough to defeat any harmful ideas. If they're not, you need to work on your ideology or your viewpoint, make it more logical, rational, and compelling. But see, again, that's something that the wonderful, morally superior among us can't do. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. By the way, I will have a very important segment on Elon Musk in the stock market crash channel below in the pinned comment. But if you want to see me press 100-pound dumbbells, that's below in the pinned comment. Also, it's in the stock market crash channel. So subscribe to the stock market crash channel below. Thank you so very, very